The day before the national exam, someone tampered with my water bottle. My best friend surpassed me and secured the only scholarship spot. My childhood friend comforted me. Don't worry, you'll have another chance with the SATs. But on SAT day, I was kidnapped, and Jake missed his exams too while rescuing me. To return the favor, I married him. Years later, Rachel, now an Ivy League graduate, attended my wedding in glamorous triumph. Then I accidentally overheard Jake's conversation with her. Rachel, thanks to you making her miss both exams. Otherwise, I'd never have married her. Rachel Sue smirked coldly. What did you expect? She's my dad's ex-wife's daughter. If I don't trample her into the mud, how could my mother outshine that old hag? Blind with rage, I rammed my car into them, leaving them crippled, and was sentenced to death. When I opened my eyes again, I'd been reborn in senior year. Nan, let me refill your water bottle. You can review 2 more problems during recess. Rachel said meekly, standing before me. Before I could respond, she snatched the empty cup from my desk. Jake, he shuffled over from the back row and sat beside me. Nan, Rachel's so kind, always second best, yet sacrificing her break time for your studies. His tone implied I owed Rachel some grand debt. Classmates turned to stare with mixed expressions. Someone whispered, is Nina Shin bullying the popular girl? Aren't they childhood friends? Why does the popular girl seem so submissive around her? That's exactly why she's vulnerable to manipulation. They grew up together. Jake, he overheard the remarks, a flicker of amusement in his eyes, but he feigned anger and scolded them loudly. Shut up, all of you. Nina isn't that kind of person. After silencing them, Jake turned to me with adoring eyes. Nina, no matter how many misunderstand you, I'll always stand by your side. Crazy person. I ignored Jake, not even bothering to glance his way. This was the exact day in my past life. I drank the water Rachel Sue handed me, then collapsed from dehydration, missing the national exam entirely. With me out of the picture, Rachel finally climbed from always second best to first place. Mr. Smith later told me regretfully, I know your capabilities, but the school's policies can't be bent. Rules are rules. Since you missed the exam, by regulation, the scholarship spot goes to Rachel, including, he knew my background and how much I needed the reward tied to being the top exam scorer. His voice trembled with reluctance as he continued, including the full ride for university. It has to go to Rachel. I was an orphan, abandoned as a child. It was Jake's grandmother who took me in. The He family wasn't well off. Grandma, he took me in to be Jake. He's child bride in an arranged marriage. This way, they wouldn't need to spend money when Jake married later. At the He's, I did everything. Washing clothes, cooking meals, feeding chickens, tending pigs. Yet I went hungry and cold. Fortunately, the 9-year compulsory education program reached us. The village mayor came with cops to the He's, and that's how I got to attend school. Middle and high school were tuition-free. I just needed side jobs for pocket money during breaks. But university was expensive. These 3 years of relentless studying were for one goal: the full ride scholarship tied to the national exam results. The He's wouldn't pay for college. They forbade me from going altogether. They feared university would open my eyes to the world beyond marrying Jake. So they schemed endlessly to trap me in this impoverished countryside. In my past life, after failing the exam, I returned to school to retrieve my cup for lab testing, but the cup had vanished. With Mr. Smith's help, I checked the security cameras, only to learn they'd been broken for a week. The last footage showed Jake bouncing a basketball that shattered the lens. I'd suspected Jake orchestrated these coincidences until he skipped his SATs to search for me. That's when my doubts dissolved. But who could have guessed it was all his carefully orchestrated setup, designed to keep me indebted to him for life. He knew he wouldn't pass the college entrance exams. He couldn't focus on studying anyway. Terrified, I'd climbed the social ladder by attending a top university. He conspired with Rachel Sue to sabotage my future. Rachel placed the filled cup on my desk. She offered me a timid smile, her eyes brimming with cautious ingratiation. Nan, I mixed half hot and half cold water. It's just the right temperature now. You can drink it. My eyes stayed fixed on the test questions. I grunted in acknowledgement, couldn't be bothered to look at her. She bit her lip, her eyes instantly reddening. Nan, did I do something wrong? You're so distant. Rachel was well-liked in class, coupled with her striking looks. Many rushed to defend her. What's your problem, class president? The popular girl doesn't owe you anything. She gets you water and you can't even say thanks? I didn't look up. Thanks. My critics fell silent. Rachel froze too. The class bell rang. Rachel had no choice but to return to her seat, resentment simmering. I glanced at my cup, then at the identical one on Rachel's desk. Rachel and Jake, he were from the same village, though her family was slightly better off than the he's. Many of my belongings were hand-me-downs from Rachel Sue. For this, I was always grateful, even when she took delight in announcing playfully in front of crowds. Nanan's clothes are from me. They were too loose on me, but fit her just right. Such remarks became routine. In elementary school, classmates mocked me as a beggar, treasuring Rachel's cast-offs. Later, in middle and high school, she developed a habit of buying everything in pairs before gifting me one. If I refused, she'd give it to Grandma, he instead. I thought I'd shed the beggar label, only to be branded a copycat. Every cent I earned from side jobs went toward repaying Rachel. I refused to owe her anything. I'd always believed perfection eludes humans. We're all flawed, without exception. Judge actions, not intentions, for no one's record is spotless. Whatever her motives, at least I had clothes to wear and a cup to use. Yet only at death's door did I learn the truth. I was her half-sister. Those malicious acts weren't my imagination after all. Through my compact mirror, I caught Rachel's venomous stare fixed on my cup. Deliberately unscrewing the lid, I saw her pupils dilate and lips twitch with anticipation. Then I tightened it again. Her pupils contracted sharply as she clenched her jaw, fingers digging unconsciously into her palms. For the entire class period, I methodically frayed her nerves like this. By the end of the lesson, her once clear eyes were webbed with red veins. Her body trembled uncontrollably. I almost laughed. With mental strength this fragile, how dare she try anything underhanded? When the bell rang, Rachel Sue bolted upright from her seat. I instantly raised my cup, throat bobbing as I pantomimed taking several gulps. Only then did she sink back down, exhaling in relief. After screwing the cap back on, I slumped over the desk, feigning sleep. Through my periphery, I watched her drag Jake, he outside, seizing their absence. I emptied my cup into a spare water bottle and concealed it in my bag. The now empty cup was returned to its place on the desk. Upon returning, Rachel deliberately brushed past me and picked up my container. Its lighter weight made her lips twitch with suppressed delight. Nan, let me refill this for you. She chirped before scampering off with my cup, laughter trailing behind her. Next period, I clutched my stomach and let crocodile tears fall. In the mirror's reflection, Rachel's lips curled as she exchanged a knowing glance with Jake in the back row. Seeing the opportune moment, I clutched my stomach and stood up, asking Mr. Smith for leave. Sir, I suddenly have terrible stomach pain. Mr. Smith was my favorite teacher and also my homeroom advisor. In my past life, he had pulled strings everywhere for my sake. Even at the very end, Venimicid Misats, he went to Grandma He's house, offering to pay for my repeat year, only to be struck on the head with a broom and driven out. Not only that, Grandma he made a scene at school, claiming Mr. Smith had ulterior motives toward me. This got him suspended and bombarded with parental complaints. Yet even then, when Jake, he took me south for work, Mr. Smith texted encouragement. Nina shun, Yumisetsats. But you haven't missed your entire life. You can still work hard, take adult education exams, return to school, or find another path. Life is long. Never give up on yourself. Now, seeing me drenched in sweat and tears, Mr. Smith immediately called the nurse's office to have me escorted there. Having experienced dehydration pain in my past life, my performance now came effortlessly. Rachel Sue and Jake he visited, but only left for class after seeing my pale face and frequent bathroom dashes. During final evening study hall, I asked Mr. Smith for leave to check into an off-campus hospital. Mr. Smith lamented in the classroom. How could this happen? Nina Shun is hospitalized at such a critical time. The national exam is tomorrow. I must go see her. After the teacher left, Rachel, Sue, and Jake, were overjoyed. Rachel even hummed a tune on her way home. I didn't attend the morning study session the next day. Seeing my empty seat, Rachel felt a weight lift from her chest. Our exam halls were in different schools. Due to my illness, Mr. Smith insisted on personally escorting me to the testing site. Only after the exam ended did I return to school. Spotting me, Rachel rushed over with feigned concern. Nina, what a shame you missed the exam. I smiled faintly. It's fine, there's still the SATs. She sighed dramatically, then added with calculated nonchalance. But this national exam involved early admissions and full ride scholarships. As the bell rang, she returned to her seat and found a note beneath her cup. I'd woken early to forge Jake's handwriting. Enjoy your drink, Rachel. The water I'd replaced from that day all poured into Rachel's bottle. She took eager sips, sweetness curling at her lips. As Jake walked past Rachel, Sue, with a basketball under his arm, Rachel blushed and batted her eyelashes at him. Jake scratched his head in confusion before returning an awkward smile. Rachel became even more convinced that Jake had been the one who left her that note. Before the class ended, Rachel had already drained her entire water bottle. When the bell rang, she barely stood up to approach Jake before doubling over, clutching her stomach as spasms racked her body. She staggered up from the floor and bolted toward the restroom, hands pressed against her abdomen. 2 full class periods passed without her return. Mr. Smith sent students to look for her. They eventually found her collapsed in the hallway outside the toilets, dehydrated and unconscious, just like what happened to me in my past life. Jake frowned as Rachel was carried out on a stretcher. He approached me and demanded, Nina, how come Rachel's condition mirrors yours so exactly? Only far worse. His voice carried across the classroom, drawing everyone's attention. Yeah, class rep. Did you infect our popular girl or something? Don't spread it to the rest of us. The SATs are coming up. We can't afford to get sick. Nina Shun, if you're diseased, just drop out already. Nobody wants an orphan beggar like you contaminating the class. Who knows what back alley illnesses she can't afford to treat. The popular girl probably got infected because she was too close to you. Accusations and curses rose in waves. I looked at Jake, but there wasn't a trace of concern for me in his eyes. His mood improved visibly as the voices humiliating me grew louder. Jake always claimed he loved me, that I was the most important person in his life. Yet his love consistently left me in humiliating situations. When the classmates saw Mr. Smith enter at that moment, they immediately said, Teacher, Rachel Sue's condition is exactly like Nina Shun's back then. Nina must have infected her. We're about to take our SATs. What if she infects all of us? Make her withdraw from school, or we'll collectively call the Education Bureau to protest. Jake, he took particular pleasure in trapping me in situations where everyone despised me. Every single time, he would appear like some heroic savior descending from the heavens, standing before me, defending my honor. When all these storms were of his own making, I watched his performance with cold detachment. Sure enough, the next second, he positioned himself before me, his back turned to me. What nonsense are you spouting? Nina's no orphan. My family adopted her. I won't tolerate your slander. Nina wasn't sick at all. Last time it was just food poisoning, and Rachel clearly had the same symptoms of food poisoning. Jake, he turned back and looked at me gently. Nina, as long as I'm here, no one will bully you. The classmates were about to speak when Mr. Smith slammed his book hard on the desk. Do you have proof? Any evidence that Nina infected Rachel? How dare you spread baseless rumors? All those years of education wasted. Is that it? The classroom fell dead silent. Someone couldn't help but mutter under their breath. But their symptoms are exactly the same. Mr. Smith raised his voice. I personally took Rachel to the hospital that night for 4 fluids and tests. Don't you think I'd know if she were sick? I pulled out the medical report from that day. Take a good look at this. And those of you who were barking earlier, don't forget to apologize. After the report circulated, the classmates reluctantly fell silent. The paper finally landed in Jake's hands. It clearly showed I had no illness whatsoever. Mr. Smith said angrily, Nina just had pre-exam stress syndrome causing stomach pain. How is that the same as Rachel's condition? No one dared to speak another word. The smile vanished from Jake, his eyes the moment he finished reading the document. His head jerked up, staring at me in disbelief. I met his gaze with icy detachment. My stare sent chills down his spine. Nina, you. My eyes burned with disgust. Jake, get the hell away from me. You make me sick to my stomach. With that, I returned to my seat and buried myself in practice problems, leaving Jake to endure the scrutinizing gazes of our classmates and Mr. Smith. The homeroom teacher said sharply, Jake, Nina Shin represents our entire school's hopes. Her success will inspire countless underclassmen. For heaven's sake, stop dragging her down. Her test scores are triple yours plus another third. How can you even face her? Jake turned deathly pale and staggered back to his seat. All day, his eyes haunted me like some vengeful ghost. He refused when classmates invited him to visit Rachel Sue at the hospital. Jake and I came from different worlds. I earned my place at this high school. His family bought his way in. Before his transfer, everyone knew I was an orphan, yet no one ever mocked me for it. They'd even pooled funds to support my education, urging me to study hard. But after Jake arrived, any boy who came near me, he would say it to everyone's face. I was picked up by his grandmother. I was his arranged marriage bride. I was meant to marry him someday. Having eaten the He family's rice, I became one of their own. High school life was austere for everyone, especially in elite schools. Endless tutoring sessions, mountains of unfinished test papers. Under that crushing pressure, gossip like this spread like wildfire through the entire grade. I became the laughingstock of the school. Whenever they saw me, classmates would jeer at Jake. Jake, your child bride is here. Their mocking laughter humiliated me, grinding my fragile self-respect into the dirt. Yet Jake basked in the attention. With Rachel Sue fanning the flames, my reputation plummeted. They claimed I bullied Rachel out of jealousy for her beauty. The label of copycat became an inescapable nightmare, haunting my youth like a shadow. Escaping these mountains, leaving this county town behind, that became my sole reason to endure high school. When afternoon break came, Jake approached me with his usual tactics. To be fair, Jake was quite handsome. He knew his strengths and played the victim masterfully around me. Every time, before I could even pity him, other girls immediately rose to defend her. Nina, Grandma made dinner. She's waiting for you to come home. I packed my books into the school bag. I'm not going back. Jake, I'll never go back there again. A flicker of panic flashed through his eyes. What do you mean? Exactly what I said. I handed him an official document bearing government seals. The termination of adoption was clearly stated in bold print. Jake, I have no ties to your family anymore. You and I are nothing to each other now. If you dare spread that arranged marriage nonsense again, that I'm supposed to marry you someday, I'll sue your grandmother for child trafficking and unlawful confinement. The document trembled in He family's hands, lips quivering. Nina Shun, his voice cracked. After all Grandma's done raising you, this is how you repay her kindness. With these vile accusations, a crowd of curious classmates had begun gathering around us. Our school dismissed early on Fridays, and students from other classes often lingered to meet friends. Now the classroom corridors swarmed with spectators drawn by the commotion. Jake's booming accusations carried clearly through the crowd. Once again, the chorus of condemnation turned against me. Though academically mediocre, Jake possessed a silver tongue for manipulative rhetoric. He had a gift for hoisting others onto moral pyres while positioning himself as the blameless victim. I sneered coldly. Your grandmother only took me in to save the bride price she'd have to pay when you grew up and married. From age 4, I had to stand on stools just to cook meals in your household. I never had decent clothes to wear. In winter, my feet turned blue from cold while you warmed yourself by the fire. When school age came, you went to class while I stayed home, cutting pigweed and feeding chickens. The village mayor visited multiple times, saying compulsory education meant I should attend school. But your grandmother refused to even register my ID, just to keep me from running away. It wasn't until the mayor threatened to send me to an orphanage, declaring your grandmother had no legal guardianship, that she finally registered my ID. Only after the cops came could I attend school. I was barely 16 my freshman year. Jake, he flushed with rage, suddenly glaring at me with feral intensity as he roared, "Shut your mouth." My Xiao deepened, fearless, though my eyes grew progressively redder with each revelation. Why should I? Didn't you call me ungrateful? Claim your grandmother raised me? When I was 14, she locked you in my room at midnight, tried to make you force yourself on me, so I'd have no escape but to marry you. If I hadn't stabbed myself with scissors and terrified you, and that which would have destroyed me that night. Isn't it precisely because you think this involves my reputation, that as a girl, I'd be too ashamed to speak up, that you felt free to act so brazenly? Jake, I've shed all shame now. All I want is to study hard for college exams and live my life properly. You claim your grandmother raised me. Have I ever spent a single dollar from your family all these years? My tuition and living expenses were fully waived. I worked side jobs in my free time, did all the chores at your place, and even had my earnings taken by your grandmother. What kindness has your family ever shown me? What fucking decency? I pressed forward, each word striking like a hammer. The previously silent classroom erupted into a chorus of curses directed at Jake. Have you no shame? Jake, after all the lies you've spread about this, making everyone think you and the class president were an item, turns out it was just your pathetic delusion. This is practically human trafficking. The class president's top tier. Jake, he should take a good look at his toad-faced self. Our presidents had it worse than child laborers. Wave after wave of scorn crashed against Jake's face. After all, he was just a senior year student, at that age where face and pride mean everything. He kicked over a nearby desk with a guttural roar, shoving through the crowd to flee. The desk belonged to the gym captain. The captain seized Jake by his collar. Are you insane? Jake, throwing a tantrum and kicking my desk. What the hell's wrong with you? Don't you have your own damn desk? Jake, he slammed his fist into the gym captain's face. Get your hands off me, asshole. The two tangled into a brawl, inevitably jostling nearby classmates. Boys who'd long disliked Jake, he seized the chance to join the fray. What began as a duel soon escalated into a full-blown melee. Jake's pained cries reached me, but I tuned them out, methodically packing my belongings. I slung my backpack over my shoulder and slipped through the rear door, only to collide with Mr. Smith standing guard outside. His gaze held layers of unspoken judgment. How much had he overheard? My lips parted, then I lowered my eyes. In both lifetimes, I've failed this mentor who believed in me. He'd invested everything these 3 years, championing me when no one else would. Compulsory education waived only my tuition, board fees, textbooks, especially the endless reams of practice tests at our elite high school, remained crushing burdens. In my first life, I'd assumed Mr. Smith badgered the principal into covering those costs. Years later, a retired teacher revealed the truth when I revisited my hometown. The principal had approved only my living stipend. Every other expense, Mr. Smith paid them from his own pocket, in silence. But that wasn't all. He noticed I spent my weekly day off doing side jobs, backbreaking manual labor. After learning this, he paid me to tutor his elementary school son at their home. It's almost laughable. I didn't understand until adulthood. Mr. Smith had taught for decades. Wasn't he more than qualified to teach his own child? He was helping me with everything he had, yet still shielding my fragile teenage pride, now reborn into this life. Meeting his gaze made my eyes sting. He patted my shoulder. Nina, shun. Phoenixes rise from the countryside. Phoenix trees grow in valleys. You'll have the life you deserve. His eyes were rimmed red. My glance swept over classmates nearby. Their expressions held shame, remorse, but never mockery. That night, I was sound asleep in the dorm, The housemaster summoned me for a phone call. Jake, he's trembling. Wounded voice came through. Nina, don't hang up. I need to explain. You know now, right? Rachel drugged you, but I had no part. Nina, you can't blame me. Ball rose in my throat. Since when were accomplices innocent? His voice cracked with tears. Nina, I'm just afraid you'll leave me. I'm scared that once you get into a good university and meet new people, you'll abandon me. I truly can't live without you. I let out a cold laugh. Jake, I was never with you in the first place. Could you stop being so delusional? He drew a sharp breath. You're still mad at me, aren't you? And about the SATs. Nina, even if you're just in the top 10, someone will still sponsor your tuition, even if no one does. I'll work to pay for your education myself. Nina, I'll prove to you how determined I am to make it up to you. I hung up before he could say another word. When Rachel Sue returned to school, she cornered Jake, during recess. Why didn't you visit me at the hospital these past few days? Jake, he glanced at me, then dismissed her impatiently, as if to distance himself. Can you just stay away from me? Rachel's eyes instantly welled up. What do you mean? If you hadn't given me that water, I wouldn't have gotten sick. Jake shoved her away. Are you insane? I never gave you any water. He looked at me pleadingly. Nina, I swear I never fetched water for her. I chuckled and ignored him. Rachel snapped to her senses and stormed over, gripping my wrist tightly. It was you, wasn't it? I slapped her hand away with force. I don't understand what you're saying. Rachel Sue said angrily. Are you getting back at me? Why would I get back at you? What did you even do to deserve that? How puzzling. Rachel arched an eyebrow, glancing at Jake, who averted his gaze. Rachel let out a cold laugh. Nina, shun. Aren't you afraid I'll call the police? Your entire future could be ruined. I smiled. Then go check the security cameras. Too guilty to even look at me, Jake slipped out through the back door. The classroom was now empty except for Rachel and me. Rachel crossed her arms, looking down at me with disdain. Who would have thought? Nina, all these years you played the meek one, but holding grudges is your true nature. But no matter how much you retaliate, what's the point? You still miss the national exam. First place is mine. The school's only scholarship spot is mine. The full ride for 4 years of university is mine. Truth is, I don't even need those rewards, but I know they're your lifeline. That's exactly why I won't let you have them. Just wait and rot in this backwater town forever. I chuckled nonchalantly. Oh, really? We'll see about that. Rachel tossed her head back with a scornful laugh. Keep pretending you're unfazed. The exam results were posted during evening study hall. Mr. Smith placed the printed score sheet on the lectern. He cradled his thermos with a beaming smile. Come up and take a look, everyone. Rachel Sue sat smugly in her seat, staring at me motionlessly with undisguised challenge in her eyes. I took a sip of water and remained seated, letting other students crowd around the lectern to check the scores. Rachel waited for her classmates to gasp her name in awe, but what came instead was, the gap between first and second place is insane. Over 100 points difference. Holy crap. Rachel's smirk became uncontrollable, yet the next moment, damn, class pres Nina's on another level. The popular girl's not even close. Rachel stood up, her face flushing crimson. What are you talking about? This can't be. She shoved through classmates like a madwoman, snatched the score sheet from the lectern, and stared at it wide-eyed, scanning it again and again. No matter how she pounded her head or blinked desperately, the name she kept seeing was Nina Shun. Her hands trembled as she glared at me in shattered disbelief. Eyes bloodshot, she lunged at me, swinging wildly. You lied, Nina Shun. You lied to me. I caught her wrist and whispered icily in her ear. I didn't pay you back during your national exam. Want to know why? Because I possess more than enough ability to crush you, to make you understand the chasm between us. Rachel Sue, when you're outmatched, you must concede. I shook off her hand, sending her collapsing to the floor in hysterical sobs, just like my past self in another lifetime. In that previous life, when I woke after missing the national exam, my world collapsed into utter darkness. Fortunately, there were still the SATs, but when I failed those two, death seemed the only escape. Later, Jake, he and I migrated south for menial work, while I saved every penny for self-study exams. Those national exam and SAT questions I'd missed that year. For decades afterward, I could recite them backward in my sleep, because they represented the life I'd lost. When Jake returned from sports training and learned I'd become the top exam scorer, he froze for several seconds before sinking into silence. Unlike Rachel's emotional meltdown, there were no screams or outbursts. Yet, an unexpected visitor soon arrived. Rachel's father. In the principal's office, the man offered me a measured smile, owner of a thriving grocery store in the city. His family home stood mere steps from the He residence. For 18 years, I called him Uncle William. He'd watched the He family abuse me, seen me nearly become stateless, without ever extending a shred of compassion. From village gossip, I'd pieced together William Sue's ex-wife, my mother, who'd bled out during a catastrophic childbirth. Both mother and child were dead, less than 2 weeks after their deaths. William Sue brought home a heavily pregnant woman on the verge of labor. That woman was Rachel Sue's mother. After the principal left, only William Sue and I remained in the office. He smiled at me with paternal warmth. "You've grown up so well," he said, "making us proud. You're the first from our village to get into a top college. Truly outstanding." His approving gaze lingered, not looking at a daughter, but at his trophy, his badge of honor. I kept my distance. "Uncle Sue, was there something you needed?" He sighed, eyes reddening instantly. Nan, I'm your father. I couldn't acknowledge you before because of Mrs. Zhang. Now that you're grown, about to start college, even if it means divorcing her, I must claim you as mine." "I don't believe you." Having lived 2 lives, acting came effortlessly now. William Sue took me for a DNA test. When the results confirmed his claim, I collapsed into his arms, sobbing, "Dad, you don't know. Watching you dote on Rachel as a child. How I wished you were my father. To think you really are." He brought me to the house he'd built in the countryside. When Rachel Sue saw me, she snapped, lunging to shove me violently. I collapsed to the ground, silent tears streaming down my face. William Sue's temper flared, and he slapped Rachel across the face. "She's your sister. What the hell are you doing? Get back to your room." Rachel fled in tears, while Mrs. Zhang stood nearby, grinding her teeth in fury. With William's backing, I successfully transferred my ID registration out of the He household. Grandma, he had stubbornly refused at first. William ran a grocery store and employed some gang members for protection. Jake, he got ambushed several times on his way home, beaten up with sacks thrown over his head. The worst incident broke his leg. Only when Grandma, he wailed like a banshee, did she finally hand over my ID documents. I'd successfully severed my legal ties to the He family. What had seemed impossible for me was child's play for William. It takes a villain to outplay a villain. After securing early admission, I stopped attending school. I stayed home, cooking meals and brewing soups for William daily, playing the role of the perfect good daughter. These were all things Rachel had never bothered to do. Rachel was spoiled rotten. With her as contrast, even my smallest kindnesses became magnified in William's eyes. Meanwhile, Rachel grew increasingly unhinged, forced to listen daily to William's praises of me. She couldn't stand seeing me fawn over William Sue, nor could she bear William showing me any kindness. She found our close family dynamic utterly intolerable. She made scenes. She wept. She smashed plates and bowls. Then William would scold her, sometimes even resorting to physical violence in extreme cases. Thus, the Sue household fell into this vicious cycle nearly every day. Under this emotional strain, Rachel couldn't focus on her studies at all. On SAT day, I showed up right on time. She glared at me furiously. "What are you doing here?" I smiled. "Taking the test again. To prove your loss to me wasn't just coincidence." I met her gaze. "It's reality. You'll always be my defeated rival. Every single time, you'll lose to me. That's your fate. Rachel, you need to accept your destiny." Rage and hatred flashed in her eyes, but beneath it all lurked terror, pure dread. I walked into the testing center while she remained frozen in place. I'd shattered her composure completely. When SAT scores released, Rachel scored over 200 points below me, barely scraping into a state college. William looked at her with disdain. Couldn't even get into a top university? After all I've invested in you, the tutoring fees alone could have bought a city apartment. Useless waste. Rachel Sue broke down in hysterical sobs. I brought out the soup I'd prepared. Dad, don't be angry. Have some soup first. You're not in good health. You need to take care of yourself. Mrs. Zhang angrily knocked over my soup and came at me. William Sue slapped her back. The house descended into utter chaos. That night, I packed my bags deliberately noisily. As expected, William Sue came out to see me, asking what I was doing. I whispered through tears. I've already lost Mom. Now you're all I have left. Though I truly want to live with you. Dad, I don't want to disrupt your life. I found part-time work at an educational institute in Beijing. I'll call you often to check in. William Sue wiped his tears with the back of his hand and handed me a bank card. There's 150,000 yuan in here. Use this for now. Ask me if you need more. I politely declined for appearances before ultimately accepting it. During my university years, my outstanding academic performance gave William Sue immense face among his rural relatives. With me as the comparison, Rachel Sue appeared increasingly wayward. William Sue and Rachel's mother argued constantly. What emotional capacity could a man who cheated on his wife and abandoned his family possibly possess? William Sue had countless women on the side. I played the sweet-talking viper to perfection, coaxing William into funding my master's, doctorate, and ultimately my study abroad. For uneducated status seekers like William Sue, academic prestige casts an irresistible spell. After returning from abroad, I took a position at William's grocery store. Within 2 years, I'd successfully transferred all his money elsewhere, leaving the business an empty shell. Then I disappeared. My ID had been transferred to my university's jurisdiction years earlier. Rachel's mother divorced William, driving him to the brink of madness. Decades of debauchery had ravaged his body. When terminal illness struck, my phone rang endlessly with his calls. I finally answered, just before changing my number. He begged for medical funds. For salvation, I only laughed and said, Uncle William, my mother's been dead 18 years. You've had 18 extra years. Hurry along and keep her company now. You'll get nothing for living, but name your price for the funeral. I'll pay whatever it takes. I hung up before the curses began. After silencing them, Jake turned to me with adoring eyes. On the day I wished to die, I returned to this city I'd once loathed beyond measure. At William's funeral, I register my mother's name as chief mourner. The opera singers, drummers, and scripture chanters were all hired in her memory. I had my mother's grave rebuilt as well. The guests were stunned speechless, yet none dared voice their thoughts. The stage performance reached its crescendo, while banquet tables buzzed with contented diners. Suddenly Rachel Sue charged at me, knife flashing toward my ribs. Jake, he shoved me aside. Their struggle turned violent. Rachel's blade severed Jake's hand in one brutal arc. As the cops dragged Rachel away, her curses still hissed my name like venom. Jake managed a weak smile before the ambulance swallowed him whole. Nan, glad you're safe. My lips twisted into a mirthless smirk. Another scheme with Rachel. Jake, quite the sacrificial play. What'll you do when that hand won't reattach? Blood drained from his face. His mouth worked soundlessly before sealing shut in defeat. Nan, I'm sorry. Save it. Makes me sick. After the funeral, I buried William Sue where no one would mourn. He'd interred my mother beneath an unmarked mound, just packed earth. Now, he knew the same indifference. I'd lied to him, even in death. I spared no coin for his rest. After all, poverty's my oldest companion. Surely Uncle William would understand.